Life is a journey, not a destination. Welcome to Broken to be Blessed Network, where strong, bold, powerful men will share their journey of inspiration and motivation. Life is meant to be lived, but it depends on one's own experiences that will shape their own path. For this reason, they will leave with you their own strategies used to overcome life's challenges. I'm your host, Samantha McNeil. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest, His Excellency Jamar William Wright, United Nations Ambassador, NGO diplomat, co-founder of Mind Food International. Jamar Wright is the Chief Executive Officer of Mind Food International, a leadership coaching and training organization guided by biblical and timeless principles. Mr. Wright holds a bachelor's degree in business administration with a major in banking and finance and a minor in international business. He is passionate about business and how leadership can help people maximize their gifting. His company, Mind Food, is known for providing the ultimate conference and training experience, whether corporate or otherwise, both locally and on the international scene. He is the Governor General Awardee for Excellence in Leadership in 2019 for the parish of St. Catherine. He is a non government organizational United Nations Peace Ambassador. He is a published international author of 3 books, inspirational teacher, and a leadership coach. Mr. Wright has a great passion for young people. Mr. Wright is also a committed family man. He and his wife Natasha Wright has been married for 7 years, and he has a 6-year-old daughter by the name of Amia. Help me welcome today to Broken to be Blessed Network, His Excellency Jamar Wright.
I have with me a quote which says, sometimes the smallest step in the right direction ends up being the biggest step of your life. Hello, Jamar Wright. How are you doing today?
Hi, Samantha, I'm doing well, and you?
I am doing well too. So happy to have you on Broken to be Blessed Network.
It's my pleasure.
Awesome, awesome. So before we get into your journey, Mr. Wright, we just want to get to know you a little bit and just to get to know where you're from and a little about you. What's your favorite food?
My favorite food is actually curry goat and white rice. It's actually my favorite dish. So I love curry goat and white rice. And I am original from Bagua Magazine Lane, and that's in the parish of St. Catherine for those of you who know Jamaica. So I'm from the parish of St. Catherine in a small community called Bagua, and within that community there's a lane that they call Magazine Lane. So I'm from that small area.
Okay, awesome. What do you do for fun?
Um, Sometimes I play games. My favorite game is to play Pro Evolution Soccer. I love to play that game. And yes, and of course, reading book. I'm just a simple guy, so reading books going out with my wife and playing games with my daughter and so stuff like that. So those three are in my big way of enjoying myself, going out with my family, playing Pro Evolution Soccer and reading books. If I have a better game on the mobile phone, I'll definitely download it. But for now, it's Pro Evolution Soccer. So I love playing that game.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for letting us know and getting to know a little about what you like and all of that. And it's now time for us to go in and hear your journey, where you have been. In your introduction, we would have understand all the heavy titles that now rest on your life. But we want you to tell us where you have been, what was the starting process of your life and all of that to where you are now.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, that I grew up in a community called Bagwalk Magazine Lane, and for those of you who don't know what Bagwalk is, Bagwalk is in the parish of Saint Catherine, and it's actually between Bagwalk actually is between it's between it's between Linstead and Spanish Town, so right there in the middle, that's where Bagwalk is. And so when I was born in this big board house. And that board house was built 30 years before I was born. So imagine born into a board house and it was built 30 years before I was born. That board house was built by my grandmother. And so when I was born and started living that house was deplorable because there was hardly to no repair that was done on that board house. And so that house, it's used to divide up into three big bedrooms. And for you who know about board house or know about houses in Jamaica, we used to have a thing they call the cellar. And so the house used to be on about four blocks that they kind of, the four blocks was like the foundation. And so they kind of rest the house on top of those four blocks going around. And so we used to have wooden floor with the plyboard and the plyboard around the house. And so over 30 years period, you'd have imagined because there were little and no repair that done on the house. The house was in a deplorable condition. Now, about 11 of us used to live in that big board house. One room was for my grandmother, for my grandparents, my grandmother and grandfather. In one room, it was for my mother, and the next room, it was for my brother and our remaining cousin and family member. And so in our room, we used to have two bed, and it's not actually a bed, but if you know those bed that the frame of the bed, it was like spring, those spring inside it, and we used to have a mattress on it, and sometimes those spring in those mattress, it would burst the mattress because the mattress was so deplorable. And sometimes when you lie on those mattress, sometimes you get a scar on your side, and so you have to be careful where you sleep or where you lie at night. And so we used to sleep with rats and roach. Our house constitute of we have an outside bathroom, we also have an outside kitchen, and we have an outside bathroom, we have an outside kitchen, and we have an outside toilet. And so when we used to take a shower in the outside bathroom, we used to put a hose into that bathroom. Now, when I was going to school in the morning, especially in Bagua, Bagua is very, very cold, and so you have to bathe in the morning time. And so when that water hit your body, it was frigid. It was like you are bathing in high sub-zero water. It was that cold. And so we used to cook on the wood fire. Matter of fact, before I even go into that, we were on food stamp. We were on food stamp. For some of you will remember that Jamaicans, before Jamaica transitioned into parts, that's what they transitioned food stamp into parts. And so our family, we were on food stamp. And so I used to follow my grandmother to the police station to collect the food stamp to go into the supermarket to change the food stamp. And so we used to cook on the wood fire. And so what we do before we used to cook on the wood fire, we used to put ashes on those spots so that those spots did not become so black, and so it could easily wash whenever we were washing up the dishes. And so over a period of time, because we were cooking on the wood fire, we did not have any gas stove at that time. A matter of fact, we did not have electricity. We did not get electricity until the year 2003. That's when we get electricity, 2003. And so we were cooking on wood fire. Most of the time we used to eat chicken back, um, chicken neck. Even though I do not eat chicken neck, not because I don't eat it, because
Thank you so
it
much.
I was eating chicken neck so many times. And I remember most time I was coming home and I was saying to grandmother, it is the same thing again, chicken neck. And she would just say, "You are so ungrateful." She said, "Give thanks because something is in the pot." And so we used to eat the same thing. I remember my grandmother even never used to allow me to wash rice because my grandmother would say, "Your hands cannot swell rice." And so she used to have a term. We say, we swell the rice and we stretch the chicken back. And so we used to, when we buy the chicken back, we used to cut it up as fine as it used to look at like minced beef. And so we put a lot of carrot and stuff in it to actually, that she would say, to stretch it so that it could share for everyone. And so I remember my clothes, because if you realize, if you are on food stamp, um and very few people in that household was working. A matter of fact, they used to call the house a chicken coop. And the reason why they call it the house a chicken coop is because whenever it's rain, the entire house was flooded, and so there was so many dishes inside that house. We have to put we have to put the dish inside of that house to catch water when it rain. And so when it rain, you could hardly sleep when it rain, because when it rain, you have to roll up your mattress so that your mattress did not wet. Because if your mattress was wet, it could take about it could take almost a week for that mattress to dry, and that mattress would get really stink. And so when it was raining, we used to have so much mosquito in the house, so much roach and ants. It was not really the best time for it to rain and be living there. And so my grandmother used to call the house a dry weather house. No, they used to call me Rosie Lego Beast because I used to wear deplorable clothes. And there are many times when I used to wash my clothes and my grandmother would run out of the house and say, "Listen, don't let me and you have anything today. Do not hang your clothes there. Do not allow people to know that you are wearing that. That should be washcloth." And so they used to call me Rosie Lego Beast. They used to call me Rosie Badbury, that we should put you in a barrel and roll you away. Because at one point, I used to attend school only 2 times per day. I used to attend school 2 times per day. And I remember when I was about to do GSAT, for those of you who are probably watching from other parts of the world, you are wondering, what is GSAT? GSAT is like SAT, very similar to SAT, but the only thing, the major difference between GSAT and SAT is that GSAT places you into an high school. SAT overseas is place you into a college. And so when I was about to do my GSAT, I was in grade 6. The principal said, "You know what? I need to speak to your parents, because there's no way that someone could be coming to school only 2 times per week. 2 times per week." I used to attend school 2 times per week. And so I went home and I asked my mother. I said, "Mommy, why is it that you cannot send me to school every single day like the kids? You could send me and my brother only 2 times per week." And my mother, she did not answer me. What she did, she went into her bag and she took out her payslip. And on that payslip, because your payslip, it give you a breakdown of what your income is. And so this is the year 2000. This is the year 2000, guys. This is the millennium, right? The year 2000, when they said this is the new millennium. And so my mother showed me her payslip in the year 2000. And on that pace, my mother was earning less than 2,000 Jamaican dollar. Probably 2,000 Jamaican dollar at the time was about 50 US. So my mother was really earning about 50 US at that time. Just to put things into perspective, if you are listening from somewhere across the world. So my mother in that time, she was earning less or probably 50 US at the time. And so when my mother received her pay on Thursday, because Tola Estate, they used to pay you every single Thursday. I know this because whenever my mother get paid, she used to buy a snack for us. And so when she got paid on Thursday, she could send us to school on Friday, and then she would have to cook on Saturday and Sunday. And by Monday, my mother really did not have anything left from that money. And so she barely could scrape enough to send us to school on Monday. And by Tuesday, of course, there's by Tuesday, we could not go to school. By Wednesday, we could not go to school. And by Thursday, we could not go to school. So it was really a cycle. It was really a hand-to-mouth living. It was poverty. We were living that deplorable condition. 11 of us in that big board house that it really looked like a chicken coop. And so, most of the time people would say we would not amount to anything. And based on the trajectory of our life, based on our trajectory of our life, you sometimes can predict someone outcome in life if they do not change their life. But it was my grandmother who speak life into us that one of you will have to break the cycle of poverty because it cannot continue life as usual because at the time I was the fourth generation that was in poverty at the time, and so my grandma said, "You can't. Somebody has to break the cycle. Somebody has to break the cycle." And so they used to say, "Rosie Lego Beast, we don't know why you are here. We feel like that you are probably a biological mistake, probably the sperm slip. Probably you shouldn't be here." And so, that kind of put a dampener on your life because at that time you are living in poverty. You don't see a way out. And when you don't see a way out, you sometimes lose hope.
I hear
And so
you
I did
talk
use
much.
that.
I hear you talk much
Why?
about your mother. Was your father around on your father's side of the family?
Okay. So my mother, my the funny thing is that back at the time my father lived next door, literally next door. And so my at the time my father lived next door. My father had married. And so I could stay where I am and I could see my father. I think my father and I we never get along until I was in high school because when I was in high school I really could not my mother really could not afford to send me to high school after that. And so, but it was my mother and grandmother in the initial stages because at that time my father wasn't really taking care of me at that time. And so it was my mother who was working at Tolo Estate. It was my grandmother and grandfather who was basically what would we call a hustler. They would try to scrape, would sell stuff like scallion, banana, onion and stuff like that because we had a little shop in the yard. And so it was basically from that. And so by the time I did GSAT now, they placed me at a school called St. Mary's College. That is a high school for you overseas, not a college. So I went to St. Mary's College, and by that time you could probably say really weren't expecting someone who was attending school so poorly to even place in a high school. And so I started high school. Now imagine if my mother could not find enough money to send me to primary school. Now I'm attending high school. It's going to be another struggle. And so at the time, I remember the first time my mom gave me money to start to go to high school. It was $100, and so by the time now I have to take bus now to go to school. When I was going to primary school, I didn't have to take a bus. I could walk to school, but now I could not walk to school because the school was so far. And so the fear at that time, it was I had to take two bus, one in the morning and one in the evening, and the fare was $80. So you can do the maths. 80 minus 100, you only have $20. And so over a period of time, I ended up start working with one of my uncle. He had a roots at the time. They were big in this roots before they have this. It was a form of energy drink. For those who are listening, it's a form of energy drink. They call it the roots. And so it was becoming very, very popular in Jamaica. And so my uncle started a roots company, and he employed about 20 people. And so one day I saw my cousin going by there, and I asked him if I could come by the roots factory with him, and he said yes. And so I went over there and I mixed some roots with him, and he gave me $500. At the time, that was a lot of money. And so I asked my uncle if I could come in the evening and help him out, and he said yes. And so I went in the evening after school, because school over at 2:30, and I reached Bagwalk by 3:15, and by 3:30 I was at the company doing most people would call it a part-time job. So I would work from 3:30 to 6 o'clock in the evening. And so my uncle give me $1,000, 1,000 Jamaican dollar. For you overseas, that's about $10 per week. And so my uncle used to give me $1,000, which helped out in my school, my lunch money every single day, and that was a massive input for me. And I started to, come around my father when I really fully started school in high school and stuff like that. But at that time, we didn't really get along and see eye to eye at that time. And so by the time I finished, I was in high school. I was basically an average student. My grades were about 70, 75. And so I was doing fairly, I was a B student until I reached about grade 9. Yes, when I reached grade 9, I stopped attending school. And the reason why I stopped not attending school, I stopped attending class. And the reason why I stopped attending class was the first week of school in grade 9, my mom, because all my mom used to buy shoes for me, my mom used to place my foot on a piece of paper, and she would draw my foot, and she would take that to the store or the market, and wherever she's going to buy it, and she was trying to fit that drawing into her shoe. And so my mother bought a shoes that she could have afford, and but the shoes that she could afford was really, really cheap. And so the first day at school, somebody looked at my shoes, and he said, Jamar, I saw your shoes downtown. And he said, Jamar, I wear a Timberland, and my Timberland is very expensive. And he said, I saw your shoes downtown for about 500 Jamaican dollars. And he said, Jamar, I could sell my Timberland, and I could buy your shoes and start a little company. I could buy about 14 of your shoes. And they used to call me the name of the shoe that even to this day I can't even pronounce it, the SAO. And so they used to call me Sao based on my shoes. And so I stopped attending class because it became a nickname, and they were teasing me about my shoes. And so I stopped attending class. And so my grade fell to about 30. I was now brushing 30, 35, my average for school, and it was doing really poorly. Until the final day in grade 9. My final day in grade 9, uh, a guidance counselor, for some reason, I attend guidance counselor class that day. And this is what she said. She said, couple of years from now, she said, there's no one who is attending St. Mary's College who has a rich family. She said, no one. Your parents is not rich. And she said, "Oh, do I know?" She said, "If you were rich, your parents would have wouldn't send you to school. Your parents would not have sent you to this school." And she said, "If your parents, even if you did poorly at school, you'd be at some top-notch high school." She said, "That means we can get that out of the equation, that your family, your parents, they are not rich, because you wouldn't be coming to this school if your parents weren't rich." So she said, let's get that out of the equation. And she said, the next thing is that most of your parents are doing odd job. And when she said that, she was like, she was talking to me, because at that time my mother was still working at Tolle Estate. And she said, the sad thing about it is that 2 years from now, I will see many of you in downtown Kingston selling bag juice and banana chips. She said, yes, I will see many of you downtown. And she said, the thing is that many of you right here, you are brighter than my daughter. You have more potential than my daughter. And she said, my daughter is attending university right now. She received a scholarship to study medicine. She said, I can tell you this from the bottom of my heart. Many of you in here, you are smarter than my daughter. And if I know if she was bluffing, but whatever she said, she was reaching us. And she said, the thing is that you are going to waste your opportunity in life and you are going to end up where your parents are. She said that your parents struggle with her job to send you to school, the last money that they can find. And when she was saying that, tears was coming out of my eyes. And so I went to the bathroom because I was remembering my mother. And I said, when I come back to school the following year, I was going to turn my life around. And so I did that. I become more disciplined. I begin to study because you know what I wanted to escape poverty because my grandmother was saying that someone need to break the back of poverty. And so when I went back to school, when I went back to school the following term, I started to eat those books very hard because I said, you know what, I am going to make something of myself. I did not want to fulfill anyone's prophecies to become a rose a Lego beast. So you know what? I hit those books. Fifth form, I did CXC, did well in CXC, went to sixth form at St. Jago High School, and then from there I went to university. And in 2010, I graduated from the University of Technology with a first degree and honors in marketing and banking and finance. So that was the basic step for me to it's more like of a story and a little determination, a little tweaking of your mind, a little change in the trajectory to turn your life around. But turning around your life, it's a full-time job, and it's something. It's a marathon that you have to run every single day in order to fulfill your God-given purpose.
I tell you, you mention it and it is so true. It is a full-time job. You have to see it
Mhm.
in your mind. You have to start dreaming it and all of those things, I tell you. And uh, before we go, Jamar, I want you to encourage someone. In your bio, I read where you said that you love uh, speaking and talking with young people. You love empowering them. We know we
Mhm.
are in a society, especially now, where things are out of alignment a lot,
Mhm.
and in terms of schooling and all of those things, and where technology is, it's seeming more that, oh, you don't have to do anything, you can just be easy and live a cool life and an easy life. You have shared
Mhm.
with us where you have been and how you purpose in your heart that you're not gonna become what they called you, what was said over your life, but you purpose in your heart and in your mind from that day after that speech that you are going to change the channel of your life. You're going to change what was created, what you knew. So pour into to other young people who are here and even older persons, because we might have persons who are now in their 30s and might have feel as though they waste their life or they're living what was spoken over their life. So we
Mhm.
want persons to know that there's a
Okay.
way out.
Mhm. Right. Okay, so first and foremost, let us dispel the social media because social media has changed the landscape of our life and our reality, and social media is going to be here until probably the end of time. But this is what I want to tell to talk to my younger generation, the millennials and the generation after the millennial, the generations Z or Z or whatever it is that social media is not success. Social media is not success. Very few people will become successful from social media. The majority of you, you will have to work, you'll have to find your purpose, you'll have to maximize your potential, and you will have to be determined for that purpose to be fulfilled. And it's going to take many, many years. There's no shortcut in good success. Good success takes time. It takes process, because anything that you receive that you have not developed the capacity, the strength, the stamina, it's going to destroy you. And there are so many people right now on social media, they believe that if they get a viral video, they believe that if they have enough people following them, and that is why so many people are spending money and trying to get people to follow them, you are not successful. You might look successful, you might have the suit, you might have the voice, but you are not successful. You can't look successful alone. You have to have the real thing, and that take time, that take process for you to become who God created you to be. The purpose of a seed is to become a fruit. But the seed cannot become a fruit by imitating a fruit. Let me say it again. The seed cannot become a fruit by imitating a fruit. The seed must go through a process. It's the same thing with you. You have the seed of greatness inside of you. But the seed must go through a process. It must die to its old self. And so that a new self can emerge from within the seed, a tree. If the seed is going to become a fruit, the tree must become a seed first. It must become a tree first. And it's the same thing with you. You have to become that person before you can bear your fruit in its season. And so you must work on yourself. You must work on your attitude. You must work on your mindset. And it's daily, it's yearly. It's nothing that you will happen overnight, because true success is not overnight. Many times success happen overnight. It takes about 20 years. Many times we write about things, he's an overnight success. No, he's not an overnight success. You just discover the person. He was working before the limelight hit. He or she was working a long time. It's like a chicken over an egg. No, nothing is moving, but beneath that egg, something is happening. And then 3 weeks from here, you come with your camera and say, "Oh my God, we have discovered an egg that turned into a chicken." No, you have never, you missed the part where the chicken was over and over that egg before it actually turned into a chicken. And so many times when we see people pop up on the scene, we see these overnight success. It is not overnight success. Many times they are working very, very hard. They are working 10 years. 20 years before they see any growing and any massive growth, but it was there, they were working. Many times you see people just spring up, fly by night. Fly by night will never last. As my grandmother once, she said, never be a fly by night. Fly by night are people, they are one hit wanderers. They do something great today, and by tomorrow you will never see them. They are like shooting star. They burst into flame very quickly. They are bright, they are dazzling on the stage. And guess what? 2 years from now, something happened and they are not there again. And so you need longevity. If you're going to have longevity, my friend, you must develop. You must become that person. And the first thing you must start with, it is your mind. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The word heart in the Bible is not your chest. Many times people talk about their heart, they cannot define what a heart is. But let me define what your heart is in the Bible. As a man thinketh in his heart. The word heart in Greek simply means your subconscious mind. So your heart is not in your chest. That's not the heart he's talking about, because you can't think with your heart, right? The word heart in Hebrew simply means the center of reasoning. So as a man thinketh in his subconscious mind, so is he. David said, create in me a clean heart. He was talking about his thought process. His thought process. Paul puts it this way, he said, Paul said, be ye transformed, not by the replacing of your mind, but by the renewing of your mind, be ye transformed. And then there are so many times that people are in the church, they are so spiritual and they become religious, but then again, their mind is not renewed, because their mind is renewed every single day. Your mind must renew it every single day. And Paul used the word, be ye transformed. The word transform comes from the Greek word metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is used when a caterpillar turn into a butterfly. It completely changed. And so your mind must be completely changed. It must be filled with new information. And the information that it must be filled with, it is truth. Because Jesus said something profound, because no human being can set you free. He said, you shall know the truth, not your truth, not a truth, because your truth is your experience. Our truth is subjective. But he said, the truth is the ultimate truth. And he said, once you know the truth, he said, it shall set you free. So your mind need knowledge, but your mind must have the right, the truth. Because although the Bible says, people perish from lack of knowledge, it never said knowledge set you free. Never said knowledge set you free. You perish from lack of knowledge, but knowledge does not set you free. And the reason why knowledge does not set us free is because if you learn the wrong thing well, you become an expert in error. Let me say it again. If you learn the wrong thing well, you become an expert in error. And if your ideas are wrong, that means your ideologies are wrong and you're going to live a wrong life. And so you need knowledge. The next thing you need understanding. Solomon said something profound. He said, get wisdom. It is supreme. What he said, get wisdom. And we have seen so many church people, they are spiritual, but they lack wisdom. They are spiritual, but they lack wisdom. And can I say something right here, right now? Wisdom is not in the age equation. So if you have a pen, write that down. Age is not in the wisdom equation. Age is not in the wisdom equation. The thing is that you can be getting older but not wiser. Age doesn't come with wisdom. Age comes with wrinkles. The older you get, the more wrinkles you have. That is why people get Botox. You don't get wisdom because you are getting older. You get wisdom because you are intentional about wisdom. So the Bible says wisdom is supreme. But the Bible says if you cast you everything you got, it's a get understanding. So you need understanding. What is understanding? Understanding is a comprehension of information. And information is knowledge. So you can have information, but you lack understanding. Have you ever done algebra? You have knowledge of algebra, but you don't understand algebra. So you need understanding, and understanding is so important because if you don't have understanding, it can keep you in bondage for years. Let me give you a little case study for those who are Bible scholar. God said to Abraham, watch this, God said to Abraham, your descendant will spend 400 years in slavery. That's what God said to Abraham. God said to Abraham, your descendant will spend 400 years in slavery. This is God talking. It's not a prophet. It's God. God cannot lie. He's not the son of man that he should lie. He's not a man that he should lie, not the son of man that he should change his mind. So he tell Abraham that your descendant will spend 400 years in slavery. Now, when you come to the book of Exodus, you will realize that the children of Israel actually spent 430 years in slavery. How is that? Did the Bible contradict itself? Absolutely not. The Bible did not contradict itself. Did God lie? Absolutely not. But when you come to the book of Acts tell you why the children of Israel spent 430 years in slavery. The Bible said God called Moses at the age of 40. It's in the book of Acts when they were stoning Stephen and he was explaining to them. The Bible said God called Moses at the age of 40. But Moses this is what the Bible said. Moses thought that the children of Israel understood. They did not understand. And the Bible said Moses ran away. And Moses spent an extra 40 years. Now, when Moses freed the children of Israel, he was 80. And if God called Moses at 80, at 40, minus 40 from 430 years, you'd have realized that God wanted to free the children of Israel at 390 years. But they did not understand. Daniel set the children of Israel free because when you read Jeremiah writing, you understand that they should have been in slavery for what, 70 years or 60? I think it was 70. But when you read the book, he understood, and the Bible said that the children of Israel moved back to Israel at 68 years. One understood, one did not understand, and it set them back. So understanding can set you back. The last thing your mind need, you need wisdom. Wisdom is application. You can have knowledge but not wisdom. A smoking doctor, he has knowledge, he knows that cigarette can kill him, but he lack wisdom. So you must renew your mind, and renewing your mind is daily. You need wisdom, you need knowledge so that you can transform your life, because your feet will never take you where your mind has never been. Let me say it again. Your feet will never take you where your mind has never been. You cannot live beyond your own thoughts. Let me say it again. You cannot live beyond your own thoughts. And that is why you are not trapped by God, or even Satan. You are trapped by your own mind, your own thinking, because your life is a reflection. Let me say it slowly. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Let me say it again. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, as a man thinketh in his subconscious mind, as a man thinketh in his center of reasoning, so is he. But guess what? If you change your mind today, you probably wake up and you don't see any result tomorrow. Probably wake up and you don't see any result next year. But guess what? I'm telling you, if you change your mind, if you change your mind, it's only a matter of time before your life catches up. Your life catches up with your own thought. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it will happen. So you need to develop your mind. You need to be around people who are smarter than you, wiser than you. A matter of fact, if you run with dwarfs, if you are the tallest among dwarfs, you might believe that you are a giant. And so you need to leave your own world. When I was in Bagwalk, everything in Bagwalk looked big. The supermarket looked big. The gas station looked big. A person was driving the simplest of car. They look rich. A person was living in a better house than me. They look rich. Because until I was in Bagwalk, my frame of reference, my world was Bagwalk. And so that become my world. And so when somebody leave Bagwalk and they come back and they say Bagwalk is small, I used to argue with them. I used to say, are you crazy? Bagwalk is big. The population in Bagwalk is big. Everything is good in Bagwalk. And he said, no, Jamar, Bagwalk is small. And until I left Bagwalk and I realized, when I leave Bagwalk and I start to travel outside of Bagwalk, not outside of Jamaica, no, outside of Bagwalk, and I realize that you have a bigger supermarket, you have mega mart, you have supermarket with more island. When I come back to Bagwalk, all of a sudden Bagwalk is small. And when I start to travel outside of Jamaica and see how people think and your perspective of life, it start to change. And so when I go back to Bagwalk, I cuss people who never leave Bagwalk. Because until you leave your own world, you cannot see any further. That is why sometimes it is not good sometimes to even get in debate with people if they have never leave their own world, because their world is their perception. And guess what? You need exposure as well for your mind. Because until you are exposed to better, you will never know better. Until you have exposed to greatness, you will never know greatness. And sometimes that is why some people die in the cesspool of mediocrity. They have never left where they are so that they can be exposed to greatness. And sometimes when God is changing you and taking you to a higher level, what he do, he exposes you. Because like Moses, he was becoming a great freedom fighter, but he was in the palace with Pharaoh. He learned the Egyptian language. And so he know to communicate in the marketplace. And it's the same thing with you. When God is about to raise you up, he exposes you. He bring you around powerful people. He bring you around where decision makings are happening, and so that you can expose, so that your mind can stretch. I know I'm going over, and not even touch a second point yet. So let us touch a second point quickly. So I talk about your mind. The second one, you need to fulfill your purpose. Because until purpose is known, you will abuse your life. You will not only abuse your life, but you will abuse other people's life. So abuse simply mean abnormally use. And so you are not a biological mistake. The sperms didn't slip. You're not, they used to call me Rose the Lego Beast, and I used to think that the sperm slip. I was a biological mistake. And let me tell you this, even though if you are listening or you're watching or whatever you are doing, and even if your mother tell you that you were raped, you are still not a biological mistake, because this is how God operates, the creator of the earth, the creator of the universe. He is the beginning, the end, the omnipotent one. He worked human error into his plan. Let me say it again. God works human error into his plan. So even if your mother was raped and you think that you're a biological mistake, no, God worked human error into his plan. Let me say it again. God worked human error into his plan. Scientists claim that when a male ejaculates into a female, that 700 million sperms rush towards that egg. And guess who makes it? You were listening and watching this today. And so that what means that God sits on his throne and he picks you out of 700 million sperm. Scientists claim if it was any other sperms touch that egg, it would have never been you. So that means before the creation of this world, before your mother even winks at your father, before your mother even feel any little sensation in her body, before your mother and father went to bed, even if it was a one night stand, God knew you before the foundation of the earth. He already picked you out. He said, before I formed thee in thy mother's womb, I know thee. But guess what? Somebody on earth has to do something to release you out of eternity into time. So he know you. That is why nobody has your fingerprint. That is why nobody even smells like you. People might look like you and talk like you, but there is nobody like you. There was nobody before, and there will be nobody like you after you. You are one in a million. You are tailor-made. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. This is the only part in the Bible where God used fear. He said you are fearfully. The word fearful in that context is used with a sculpture. They say when a sculpture is designing a sculpture, they fear making a mistake that they use the term. They say the sculpture fearfully designed the sculpture because the sculpture did not want to make a mistake. So when God was designing you, he picks out your voice, your ear. The Bible says even your ear and your head is numbered, not count. Numbered is different from count. He said the year on your head is numbered. That means if a strand a year comes out of your head, God can say that is year 10,000 out of the 6,000 column and in the 8,000 row. Your ear on your head is numbered, not count. He knows every single thing about you, your design, your personality, and then he dropped you in this era for you to create, to fulfill his purpose. And whatever that is, you can't return to the Father with that purpose, with that potential inside of you. You need to find your purpose. You need to refine that gift and you need to serve it to the world so that you can fulfill your purpose and become great. So that when you die, when you take your last breath, there's nothing inside of you. That when you take your last breath, you can say like Jesus, it is finish. Now, when you take your last breath, you can say, like Paul, I have been poured out like an empty drink offering. There is nothing inside of you. There is no more books to write. There is no more song to sing. There is no more painting. There is no more ministry. There is no more leadership training. There is no more dish for you to cook. Whatever it is there a purpose. When you take your last breath, you should die empty. You should die like Moses, who have said, I have seen the promised land. I have seen the promised land. And that wherever you put your foot, wherever you go, that you will bless life, that your purpose will touch generation to come. Because you want to live beyond the grave. You want to live beyond the grave. And the only way to do that, my friend, is to fulfill your purpose. And that life is a marathon that you are going to run till the very end. Do not despise the days of small beginnings. Do not despise the days of small beginnings. And the race is not for the quick. The race is not for the swift, my friend. So get up, get in the game of life. Don't be a spectator. And show everything at life. Show everything at your dream that God has given to you. If it's ministry, show your life at ministry. The reason why some people never succeed is because they never show the entire life at nothing. They never show the entire life at their marriage. They never show the entire life at school. They never show the entire life at their business. They kind of showing things like in penny in the wishing well. No, give and it shall be given. Press down, shaken up, and run it over. Whatever you give your life to, let it be of excellence. Show your life. You are in it for the long run. I just talk about two things, your mindset and your purpose. I can go on forever and ever. But change your mindset because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Not in his chest, but in his subconscious mind. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And the last one, those two things. You must fulfill your purpose. You must throw your entire life at it. Go where create something in the eons of time. Do something that the creator will smile down on and say, well done, good and faithful servant. And it's your time now to shine. You can change your life, just like me, change my life. No matter where you are right now, you can change your life. And you can go as far as God has allowed you. Maximize that potential. That what He asks you to do. He don't ask you to be the next boat. We don't need a next boat. He don't ask you to be the next TD Jakes or Dr. Miles Monroe. No, we don't need an next TD Jakes or Dr. Miles Monroe. We don't need another Bill Gates. We don't need another Steve Jobs. We don't need another Barack Obama. We don't need another Portia Simpson Miller. What we need is you and what you are carrying. God wants that, and He wants you to fulfill it. He wants you to die empty, and He also wants you to have good success so that you can attract people into the kingdom of God.
Indeed, powerful and profound. I tell you, after such an encouragement, such a journey, I tell you, today is a perfect day to start fulfilling your dreams. Oh, yes, I tell you. Thank you so much, Jamar, for sharing with us, for empowering us.
Thank you,
You are
Samantha.
an inspiration and a motivator. Thank you so much for being here on Broken to be Blessed Network.
Thank you.
And thank you, viewers, for being here. And remember to tell someone about Broken to be Blessed Network. And see you next week. Bye bye.